All right, you guys. So I made a mistake. I recorded this banger podcast with Tristan in person here in Austin, maybe a couple of months ago. And it wasn't in the usual queue of podcast recordings because it was filmed in an in-person studio and it wasn't in our software. It was in a Google Drive folder and this, and that. I have some excuses, but we got it for you now. So Tristan, he actually just moved here to Austin, but he is the homie he's a hustler. We're going to talk about a lot of things in this episode, from him with some humble beginnings to getting into sales, to working his way through the ranks in this remote sales world, all the way up to earning some really, really big commission months and managing some really, really big teams. So if you are at all interested in the world of remote selling or potentially running races like the Moab 240, which he's done, this is going to be the podcast for you. I think Tristan has a really cool story, very inspirational, and he's a very well-spoken guy. And so I'm happy to bring this one to you guys. Now, before we get into it, I want you to go down below, subscribe to our free newsletter, Because of Sales. We're a newsletter-first company. Our entire goal is to give you a pulse on the state of selling, not some recycled sales training where you read one or two emails and you're like, yeah, I already know this. We're going to pull the best of the best when it comes to sales professionals from across the internet every single week, chop it down alongside the high points of these interviews so that you can stay up to date with your morning coffee every Wednesday in less than 5 minutes. So if you're at all interested in staying up to date and doing it for free, go down below, first link in the description, subscribe. Now let's get into the pod.
All right, everybody act natural. We're live.
Cool. I think that's a good intro to the pod. Here we are, you guys. Because of Sales, another one with the boy, Tristan Workman.
Yes, sir.
We got him in town for how long?
I'm actually flying out right after this. It's a long story. Well, it's not a long story, but I'm flying to New York to actually meet a bunch of other sales guys that I'm helping. And then I'm coming back here on Sunday so that I can become more sold on Austin.
You might get sold on New York in the process.
Probably not my vibe, but definitely going there for the first time. And that's because of sales, baby. So I'm sure we'll get into it.
Dude, first time in New York, that place is crazy. It's super cool there, but I don't know if I could live there. There's a lot going on. A lot of sales guys too. But anyways, you guys, Tristan is someone who has sold a lot of things to a lot of people, is a big believer in standing behind what you sell and helping other people in the process of helping himself reach the life that he wants. So great guest to have on. Let's see, man, where should we start? How did you even get into sales?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I broke into the sales space. Well, it depends on how you define it. So when I was young, I was always working full time, like from the moment that I could actually work. Like when I was 15 or 16, I got a job and I immediately started working like 40 hours a week, even in high school. And I was in customer service. I was just working at like some fast casual restaurant and I was learning sales. You know, even as a cashier, you're selling. And then I got into waiting tables, and waiting tables is sales. And I'm of the belief that almost everything is sales to some degree. But formally, I graduated college in 2020 from UNC Wilmington, and I was still kind of just figuring things out. I got a degree in finance. I didn't really want to go to Wall Street or banking. And I was like, I don't want to do the collared shirts, even though I got one on today. I'm mostly just rocking the black tees. My friend started a construction company, and it was him and his business partner, who is now one of my sales reps. And they said, hey, man, you would crush it in sales. Like, you could be a savage closer. So they started a construction company in Tennessee. I was looking for a switch up and trying to like reinvent myself. I went to Tennessee and just started running appointments for decks, roofs, just residential renovation, and quickly realized that I was really good at it. And so I've always been a salesperson. Like I've always been making deals and things like that and hustling to some degree somehow. But formally, I started sales in 2021.
Okay. I went into construction too, straight out of school, but I studied construction in school. For you, going from studying finance to working for a construction company where most people in construction companies don't have degrees, did you at all feel like you were kind of like stepping down, or potentially you were unsure if that was the right direction, or were you confident that you should do that?
Well, I didn't think of it in that frame. It was more like what I'm doing isn't really leading to anything, and I do not want to work a 9-to-5 job. I quickly realized that getting paid a salary was not for me. And I think early on I heard this quote from Kevin O'Leary, and it might be from someone else, but he said something along the lines of like, a salary is a drug that they give you to have you forget your dreams, or something like that. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't want a salary. I want to be paid based on performance. So when I realized that the commission-based sales models are a lot of times just straight up performance-based, that aligned more with me. And the way that I think about it is if you can double your effort and make twice as much, that's something that I can get behind. So I actually saw it as a unique opportunity. I wasn't really thinking that far ahead. It was more like, hey, this is better than waiting tables and just like smoking weed all day and like selling weed, basically.
So your friend was like, hey, dude, you should uproot your life, move to Tennessee, do commission-only door knocking. And you were like, that sounds good.
Yeah, so it wasn't door knocking, although there's a lot of door knockers, and shout out to my D2D guys. Those guys are savages. But it was actually like they were essentially doing the sales and marketing with the construction attached to it. So we would buy our own leads and we would run marketing campaigns and we would generate the leads and then set our own appointments and just run them ourselves. We would pay like $2,000 for 40 or 50 leads, and then we would call them all. And we would turn that into like $100,000 in revenue. I know a lot of people talk about real ads and stuff, and it's probably different now. And I'm not the marketing guy for sure, but we were turning $2,000 into 100, like hand over fist, just because we were so good at converting the leads that we did get. And it was like Angie leads and like just regular people that needed a bathroom or a deck. I think we got lucky though. Not lucky, but the guys that I was working with strategically put the business in Johnson City, Tennessee. And basically there was no competition at all. Like we would call them back. And that was like our competitive advantage. They're like, my God, you actually called us back. Like you showed up on time. And we're like, and then our competitive advantage became like, we show up on time. And so we did really well with that, but we were setting our own appointments instead of door knocking.
For a little bit more context for the viewer, Tristan is no longer in the construction space. He's in the same similar space as I am and a lot of our guests, the high ticket online coaching consulting space. What realization did you come to while in construction that led you to getting out of that and pursuing the next thing? So
I think that a lot of people that want to get into closing forget that they need to be openers before they can be closers. And what I mean by that is, like, one of my favorite Bible verses is, ask and you shall receive, knock and it'll open to you. But what does that mean for you? You have to be constantly shaking hands and opening doors and just generating opportunities so that you can close later, right? And so I was just always in a state of shaking hands, making myself known. And what that led to was I have a friend, he was a big like 9-figure guy in the Amazon FBA space. He partnered with an influencer that was doing some stuff with Amazon FBA and teaching people how to start selling e-commerce. And he mentioned that he had a remote sales team and that the top guy was making like 40 grand a month or something. And I was like, okay, show me that guy and show me what he does and I'll double it. And I was just really trying to get in the right rooms, right? While I was doing the construction sales, I got introduced to remote closing and I had a call with their sales manager and he was like, our team is already built out. Like, you're not going to get the lion's share of the load, but you can come in and you can be in the Slack channel or whatever. So they got me in and I quickly got on a sales meeting and I just started asking like dozens of questions. I was like, why do you say this? What does this mean? How can you reframe this? And one of the guys actually pulled me to the side, the top closer. His name is Joel Esther. Shout out to my boy Joel. He's a big name in the space too. Really amazing individual. He pulled me to the side and he was like, dude, you've got it. I've only known you for like a day or two, but like I can tell the way that you're showing up on these Zoom calls, you're asking the right questions. Like you need to be investing in yourself and you need to double down. I was doing construction sales, got into remote sales while I was doing that. So I was running appointments like in the middle of Tennessee, like Bristol and like Kingsport, like Johnson City, like basically the middle of nowhere. And in between the in-person appointments that I was doing at 11, 1, 4, and 7, I would book like a 12, 2, 3, and a 5 on the remote side. So I would pull over to a Starbucks or wherever I could grab some Wi-Fi. I would do an online sales call in the middle of nowhere. And it quickly became apparent that I was going to have to choose. And so Joel actually inspired me to invest in myself. And that's the first time I ever like bought a course. I bought the Sales Sniper Bootcamp. It was like $1,000, bunch of awesome guys in there, Luke, Tony Haddad, a few heavy hitters that are still around in the space. But I invested in that course and then I started understanding like, okay, there's like this high ticket industry. I started understanding really what it was. But then the reason that I chose to get out of construction, specifically the way that we were doing it, is that I wasn't the owner of the company, but I was basically like the third founding partner and we were all just in it together. But we were making these very, very expensive mistakes that were just costing us like tens of thousands of dollars. So we would sell a job and then we wouldn't really know how to install it. So we would try our best, but then something would go wrong. And then we basically got into this cash flow crunch where we would make a mistake and have to go back $10,000 and then sell our way out of it. And it became this like round robin cash flow crunch that just was very, very difficult to walk through.
That's tough, dude. I went through a really similar thing with the transition from construction. So you were selling, like you said, bathrooms and decks. Like were you selling a little bit of everything or what?
Yeah. So we started off with just decks, roofs, enclosures. Imagine if someone wants like a screened in deck on the outside of their house. Like that was kind of like our thing. Like, but we should have stayed with one product, which by the way, sell one thing. Sell one thing. We got caught up in selling everything to everyone and saying yes to every project, which was a gigantic mistake. And the lesson was the two guys that I was partnered with, I love them to death and I'm still really close to both of them, but we just didn't know enough. They didn't know enough to teach me. We were basically on equal playing fields. Like they had sold a couple million in revenue, so they were ahead of me in that regard, but I quickly closed that gap and I was doing just fine with that. But I realized quickly that I need a mentor. I was like, I need someone to show me what the hell is going on, and I can pull forward into the future and learn from all their mistakes. And so I started seeking mentorship, and then that's when I started doing the online courses and stuff, and I started investing in myself. And towards the end of 2022 is when I went fully into the remote space. Like I left my construction job. I invested in a couple different masterminds, which turned out to be a complete sham. You know, I spent probably like 10 grand on like the worst coaching program you can buy, but it allowed me, it's like my ticket of entry.
When you got into these coaching programs, like what was the end result you were looking to achieve through them?
One of them was the guy was teaching closers how to make 20 grand a month. And that was my goal for 2023. I wanted to make $20,000 in a month, and I wanted to run the Moab 240. And those are the only two things I thought about all day long. That was the end goal, was to try to make 20 grand a month. Now, what happened was, I mentioned the Amazon FBA space. I have a lot of e-commerce guys that are doing really well, but whether it's in the high ticket coaching space or just in teaching in general, there are a bunch of teachers that actually have never really done what they're actually teaching, and you have to discern whether or not the person that you're investing into can actually deliver the result, not just to themselves, but to you as well. And so the guy that I invested into, I won't mention his name, he was an interesting character. He was making a bunch of promises, but then they partnered with this Amazon FBA company that was essentially like a total sham. Like they help people build an Amazon business done with you and done for you, but it was like a total nightmare on the fulfillment side. And so one of the things I mentioned earlier when we were walking into the studio was like, you have to really have conviction about what you're selling. And I learned that the hard way because I started selling something that I had conviction in based on being naive. And then I realized that they weren't delivering on the promises that they were making.
Yeah.
And so I had to get out of that as quickly as possible. But
that's definitely something in the online space. You've seen it a lot in the e-commerce stuff and all the done for you like business models. Yeah, it exists, and I'm sure some people do it really well, but some business owners out there, and this was in like you said 2022-ish, like it's not as common these days, but it sucks as a sales rep because you want to have full conviction, and that's a great earning opportunity. And then the first time you get that hint of like, wait, that's not what I thought we were doing. Like I didn't go through that personally, but I know people who have, and it's not fun.
I was setting appointments at first, and I was running these like time slots where 8 or 10 people would jump onto this kind of like webinar style thing, and I would set them to a closer if it made sense, and I would go through the presentation, and the offer was like basically 30 to 50 grand, and we build out an Amazon store for you, and you get passive income, whatever. By the way, be really careful about making earnings claims. If you make an earnings claim, it's against the law. And if you don't know who the FTC is, you should go look them up. But we were making these gigantic earnings claims, and I had no idea like what I was doing.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, I felt as though I had blood on my hands after I realized what was going on. So there would be people that would submit support tickets. And after I started enrolling a few people, like a month later, they're like, hey, I haven't got my onboarding yet, or hey, I haven't had my result yet. And hey, what's going on? And I would just start making noise in the Slack channel, like, hey, we need to help this person.
Yeah.
And it quickly became apparent that they weren't delivering. I think they had the best intentions, seriously, but it's really hard to fulfill on a promise that's a gigantic claim. Like, hey, we'll make you 5 figures passively. Like
we were talking a little bit before we hopped in here, and now you've got your hands in some other stuff that you were just sending a voice note before, and you're like, dude, I have so much conviction. We're going to help these people so much. So you've seen both ends of the spectrum, where it's like this end where it's like I had some conviction. Turns out these people weren't who I thought they were, or the business wasn't what I thought it was. And then now you've kind of worked your way towards like, dude, I love what I sell. Like,
oh yeah,
these people are the best. Yeah. Can you talk on that a little bit more? Like, I guess having this experience, how did you then go and figure out what it was you needed to look for to make sure that these people were worth your time?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll zoom out a little bit, but I'll try to get to the point. The long story short is I got super lucky. The end of 2022, I quit the construction job. I went all in on the mastermind that I invested into, and they were connected with these Amazon companies. And then I found mentorship through some people that I met in Miami, which is an interesting story. I went to Patrick Bet-David's Vault conference, and love Patrick Bet-David, by the way. Some people have things to say about him, but for what it's worth, like I've consumed probably thousands of hours of his content, and he shaped a lot of my belief systems about the world. And early on, especially with his content from way back. But I went to the Vault conference. I put $2,000 onto the, executive ticket or whatever, maxed out my credit card, drove down to Miami, thought that the hotel came with the mastermind event. So I get to the hotel, I'm like, yeah, I'm part of the Vault conference. I'm like, well, do you have a room? I'm like, I hope so. Turns out I didn't even have a hotel room. And so I was broke, like dead broke. I maxed out my credit card to pay for the event. And so I slept in my Honda Civic under the Diplomat Hotel in Hollywood in 2022. And I basically just went down there and I was seeking mentorship. I was like, I've got to find somebody who can tell me what the fuck is going on. And I can just listen to what they say and just do it. So that's when I met a couple of those guys. And then fast forward, I got some mentors. They ended up not being the right ones. And then going into 2023, January, February is when it all kind of hit the fan. And I was like, oh, like we are fucking people. I refuse to do this. So I quit that immediately once I put the pieces together. And then I started going back to selling construction a little bit. I kind of had to like tuck my tail and like go back to what I knew, which was a little bit more stable, even though it was difficult. So 2023, I was really in a bad place. I kind of started questioning myself. I was like, how could I let this happen? How did I not see this coming? You know, like I'm from humble beginnings and like the street life, and these white collar guys were even worse than the street guys. And I just couldn't believe it. So I started really losing confidence in myself. But one night I was just on YouTube. This is like March 2023, March 26th, actually. I was just on YouTube. I was kind of depressed. I was going back to my hometown and like going to take care of my mom and stuff. And I was like watching YouTube on her TV, and I came across this interview with Dan Coe and Dickie Bush. And this guy, Dickie, starts talking about his company and how they're building all these awesome things and they're doing this writing challenge. And I have this tattoo on my chest that means it is written in Arabic, and it's from the book The Alchemist. I was like, okay, what is this writing thing? Like, that's super cool. And he said he was building a sales team. So March 26, 2023, I DM'd him at 3 a.m. And we talked about this last time whenever we met at the Porsche meetup. But I DM'd him and basically just said, yo, I'll stab somebody for you. Like, show me the way. I love what you're doing. I'd love to demonstrate value. And he hit me back, and I ended up getting onto his sales team and starting that offer in May 4th of 2023. Now, if we zoom out again, I had actually DM'd probably like 100 creators that I found to be successful or aligned with or whatever. So I was shooting DMs off the hip. Bam, bam, bam. Yo, what's up, man? I can provide value. Yo, what's up, man? I'll do everything, etc. It just happened to be he was the one that responded, and it worked out. So I got on that offer. And then that's when I understood like what a real rock star coaching program looks like. With Nicholas Cole, Dickie Bush, shout out to my boy Daniel Bustamante. These guys are A players. And they're building an 8-figure company as we speak right now today. And I ended up helping them crack $1 million in a month in November of last year. But long story short, I went from low conviction, scam offer, people who don't deliver on what they say, to rock star individuals, really quickly moving founders, A players, genius guys that are delivering on their promise. And so it was this huge contrast. And I told them straight up, I was like, look, man, you have to show me the results of these students. I won't sell it unless you prove to me. And I'm going to be skeptical. I'm going to be more skeptical than the most skeptical customer. So prove to me, and I'll prove it to everybody else.
Yeah.
And so it took a few months of me unlearning all of those distrust kind of beliefs that I got from the bad offers. And lo and behold, they were really doing what they were saying that they were doing. So I built a lot of conviction, started cracking 10K months, started cracking 15 and working my way up. And I just had so much conviction because of my bad experience and then a great experience that you couldn't tell me that those guys aren't the best coaching program on the planet. And that's why I did so well with sales. Like my scheduled call to close ratio was like 48% and my offer to close ratio was like 60. And it was because I just simply believed in the product so much. And I knew that if we took their investment, we were going to give them a 10x return. And as far as like, if you're listening to this and you want to find an offer that you can have conviction on, just be selective. I mean, ultimately, depending on how much pressure you're applying to get into the industry, you might have to take what you can get at first, but you can be selective about the founders that you're working with and they'll respect it even more. And if they're goofy and they're just not who they say they are, then you don't want to waste your time with them. So I would just say check the founders, check their revenue, ask them what their best closer's making, ask to speak to some of the students inside the program before you even start as an enrollment advisor or a sales rep. And if it's a tech company or if it's not a high ticket, just show me the results. Show me the results.
All right, so quick break here, you guys, for the sponsor of this week's podcast edition, and it is none other than the Serial Sales Community. At the Serial Sales Community, my business that I've been running for 3 years, we help people land 1099 remote sales jobs. And not just any 1099 remote sales jobs. We're talking about the high ticket remote appointment setting or closing type of job. So these are inbound sales roles where people on the internet drive leads, whether it's through ads, email, organic content, whatever. They have people interested in buying things. You're the person that takes the closing calls. These people come in pretty warm, interested in many cases. And so it's less about how good you are at selling and really more so about how connected are you to the good opportunities. So last month we posted 470 jobs in our community. You probably don't need more sales training. You probably just need access to good opportunity. And that's what we help you with. So if you're at all interested in joining a community of sales professionals that are all doing this from home, creating their own schedules, traveling if they're into that, and ultimately spending more time with their families, then go down to the second link in the description here, click on that page, watch the video. If you like what you see, book a call and mention Because of Sales. We'll give you 5% off any package you choose. Now back to the pod. It's literally everything, like in any industry, because, people watching this are in all different industries. And yeah, I mean, I had it in roofing sales before I started in
Yep.
the high ticket space. And then I had it in the high ticket space. I have it in like what we sell now with the community. And it's just a totally different game, man. I always find it interesting when all they do, man, is they like drill objection handling. Like they drill and drill and drill. And you should be the person who can handle objections, but like you shouldn't expect every single call to come down to hardcore objection handling. Like, why is that? Like
Yeah.
show people beforehand that this is like not a sketchy thing,
Yeah, you're so right, man. And first of all, shout out to you and your program. I've got a couple people who are inside it. And my buddy Dan Reagan, he just mentioned that he joined, but he wasn't looking for a job. He was looking for closers. And I met him at the internet marketing party yesterday and I caught up with him. Shout out to you, man. I got a lot of conviction in what Dylan is doing. That's why we're here. Here's the thing. The objection handling reels that get a lot of views, it works. It gets views, right? Like someone who's crushing it right now, my buddy Johnny, he is ripping on these objection handling videos, but he knows that that's not what the real thing is, right? It's a lot about pre-handling and NLP and discovery. So as far as skill set goes, objection handling gets views because it's interesting and it's unique, but the real players know that it's more about just demonstrating that you can actually help the person. For me specifically, now that I'm starting to create sales content and I'm actually trying to make myself more known publicly, my angle is more about conviction-based sales like we were talking about. It's like just believe in the thing that you're selling and stomp them with confidence. Even when I was selling roofs, I was like, we build the best roofs on the planet. And if we don't, then we're going to go learn how. And if we mess it up, we're going to fix it. And so now, like the offer that I'm on right now that I'm managing, the Product Career Accelerator with Alex Rachevsky, which by the way, he's a rock star founder, and that's who I'm partnered with currently. He's a former group PM at Google, which basically means he's like one of the big dogs at Google, making like $900K, $1 million a year. We help people land these gigantic tech jobs. So we help product managers land $700,000 roles and break into the top tech space. What we do, you won't find it anywhere else on the market. We are the best. And if somebody comes along with a better solution, we'll just become even better than them. And so when I coach my sales guys, yes, it's the objection handling. It matters for sure. And you have to know how to navigate a conversation. And I believe that if you're in sales, you should really try to achieve mastery. And if you're not doing that, then you're not going to do as well. But you can front load a lot of that by just getting on something that you believe in and actually getting behind a really good product. Because a great offer and a starving crowd is going to do more for you. And I think you dropped a video on this. Like, I didn't get a chance to watch the video, but the real spill is like this, man. Like, some sales trainers can say that don't blame the offer. You can blame the offer sometimes. Like, sometimes the offer is not great. And it's like, you want a starving crowd, you want a really good product, and then you can do all the reframes and stuff like that too. But most people don't even do the basics. And so that's kind of one of those like stage 4 things that'll add the cherry on top.
It's a really interesting dynamic. It's like I've seen, because I work with sales reps to get into these jobs, I've seen people who maybe I didn't have the most conviction that they would be 20, 30K per month earners, but they just land on the best opportunities where these products almost sell themselves and they go and make the 10, 20, 30. And I feel like it's really more about positioning, because what's a red flag to me, and I don't know if this is in other industries, I think it probably is, to be honest. Like in a job post, they're like, we need killers only, like we need the best of the best of the best. It's like, dude, if your product and the demand for it was actually legitimate, it doesn't really matter as much who is in that position as long as they know the fundamentals, and it's still going to sell. Like if you are solely relying on sales ability and objection handling for your business to run, that's a red flag to me personally.
Yeah, well, I'll say this, like as a sales rep, and I've got a bunch of thoughts on this. First of all, I think that you should learn sales to the best of your ability, but you should also start to understand marketing and success a little bit so you can become less expendable. But yeah, there's a lot of offers that rely on their sales reps to be Jedi ninjas on the call and just like take someone from cold to sold, which by the way, you can brag on that all day, but it's pretty exhausting, and you can just fix that with better marketing. One of the things that we just implemented in my company is a pre-call hammer them sequence, which was created by this guy named Jeremy Haynes. He's like a rock star marketer. Some of you guys probably know him, but if you don't, check him out. He's a beast. And we just answer a lot of their objections before they get on the call through email. You know, so it's like, it is a red flag if people are asking for assassins. Now, to that same degree, if you have a really awesome offer, you can be selective about who you allow, and you can put them through a more extensive interview process. And you can be more like, for example, at acquisition.com, it's I could be wrong on this, so I'm speaking from like 2 degrees away from reality, but I'm pretty sure it's like a 5-stage interview process. And then if you're not onboarded and ramped up and hitting KPIs quickly, then you're just gone. And their talent density is so high, but it's because they're attracting the assassins and they're attracting the killers because they know people know that they're delivering.
Yeah. I just think like the more of that sales pressure that's delayed towards like the middle and back end of a call, you're definitely playing with a higher chance of like people on the back end getting buyer's remorse, switching up, wanting refunds.
Absolutely, man.
So-
And like some people, and I see this every single day because I'm in management now and I've got a team of 6 reps. You can't rely on these heroics at the end. And even if you do and you get someone across, like they're not going to stick. And so what I coach my guys on a lot is just speaking from a place of conviction and just before you take their money, just get them to understand that it's the right thing to do instead of telling them what if nothing changes by tomorrow, you know? So like I'm a firm believer that you just need to, like if you look at my 3,000 sales calls that I took, mostly for Dickey and Cole, which by the way, I was really lucky. They had a great product. They had great marketing. I can't take a lot of credit for that. I still delivered and I executed on what I was given. If you look at my 3,000 sales calls, I didn't really do these Jedi reframes at the end. I just won them over with conviction. I was like, I believe in you. I know we can help you. How can we make this work? I'm not giving up on you, man. How can we make this work? How can we make this work? And it wasn't like, well, the whole money aside, would you do it thing. Like those objection handles do have their place and you have to know how to handle objections. And so if we zoom out from that for a second, Taylor Welsh told me that sales is a sorting mechanism from the deserving and the undeserving. And that's specifically in the coaching space. And so if you look at a sample size of 10 people, 2 of them are going to buy everything. 2 of them aren't going to buy anything from anyone. And the 6 out of 10 in the middle, if you're a good enough sales rep, you can sway them one way or the other. Some are going to be more difficult. Some are going to be less difficult. And so you still have to take ownership of the fact that you're helping someone make a really complex decision. And that shouldn't be underestimated in terms of how hard that is. But if you are trying to think about all these scripts and tricks and tactics that you're doing, you're going to lose. And so that's why understanding the objective of the objection handling, go for the objective first. Like, what are we really trying to do? Are we trying to solve their fear? Are we trying to solve their uncertainty? Are we trying to solve their money logistics problems? If you understand what you're trying to solve, instead of just pulling out some one-liner that you heard on Instagram, you're going to do a lot better.
I was at a in-person event, I think it was last like October, and Taylor Welch was a speaker, and he did like a sales masterclass. He's really, really good, man. I wanted to ask you if you've heard about this. I don't think we've talked about it. You were mentioning the hammer them method, which I'm familiar with. Basically, I think I haven't watched the video, but I know the concept, but isn't part of that concept like 6 emails a day, really just giving them all the information.
Yep.
So I am familiar with that, but there's also this other one that I've heard people implementing. I'm curious if you heard it and if you've done it. I don't think there's a fancy name for it, but it's basically like when someone books a sales call through a paid ad, organic, whatever, you only let them book no less than like 2 or 3 days out.
Yes.
Which is a little bit counterintuitive. You only let them book that far out. Maybe you're doing that right now.
Yes.
But then also in that time, maybe you're probably sending emails, but you're running like retargeting ads. Okay. Is that part of the same method?
Yes.
Okay.
So long story short, when someone, and Jeremy Haynes really like pioneered all this. So like, this is his intellectual property. I'm just sharing what I learned. And he's a beast. So go buy his program. It's like $5K a month. Megalodon Marketing. What you're doing is you're essentially turning your closers into cashiers. And I think that's what we were talking about before. You should do that as a founder. And you should make it easier on your guys. Like, don't make them do a 90-minute call with handling every concern under the planet. Because if you simply understand your ICP, and they have the same 12 questions every time. So why not answer those 12 questions via email right before? And so the hammer strategy is like 18 emails. Some prospects aren't going to appreciate 18 emails though. So if you're running a biz op offer, you can hit them hard because you're going to have to do a lot of reframing. You might as well do it before the call. For us, we're going to implement like a 1/3 hammer strategy, which is like 6 emails. And it's just like, who are we? Why should you buy this? You know, how we're different, blah, blah, blah. And that way, I mean, you can only cover so much in a 1-hour call. And so if you want to shorten the sales cycle, hit them with it on the front. And then the retargeting part that you mentioned is probably the thing that my former mentor and boss, Dickey, he has this hilarious Instagram reel where he says something like, the biggest regret that I have is not learning about paid retargeting ads 3 years ago. And I think about it every day or something like that. And what he meant by that was people that opt into your funnel, you can hit them with really, really affordable retargeting campaigns for pennies on the dollar. And you're just hitting them from all angles. And it's like, have you ever opted into somebody's thing and then they're just everywhere? On your feed, that's retargeting. And so you can pay pennies on the dollar to show your face to the people that are in your funnel to, again, answer their questions. And so you're simply just trying to give them the answers that they're already looking for.
Yeah, and you can completely automate that as well. For example, we use Go High Level. So you set up a automation, new lead comes in, make a contact, they have a tag or whatever, the tag triggers sending data to the metapixel. And I've actually never run them for myself, but what you were saying with the emails, it's the same thing where it's like you film an ad on every single objection, retarget them for 2-3 days. Someone said something about like indoctrinating them before.
That's the word. It's indoctrination. I mean, that could be taken in a couple different connotations, but
in a joking way.
The takeaway is, if you have someone that raises their hand for your thing, tell them all the answers that they're looking for. Don't make your closers do these mind tricks and stuff.
It's like with objection handling, dude, like it's going to be received so much better when you front load it and just like ease the concern before they even ask, because as soon as they ask, the dynamic flips around and then it's like you're almost in like you are in a defensive state. And naturally, when they know you're in a defensive state, they know that you're more prone to like telling them what they want to hear, or like some people not being truthful, right? So definitely some sauce for you guys in there.
Yeah, one thing too that you mentioned with like the booking 2 or 3 days out, you want to do that because the likelihood that someone shows up 4 or 5 days later is much lower. And so you want to serve your clients as quickly as possible. And in reality, a lot of people don't know about this concept called speed to lead, or I call it speed to relationship, because it's an actual human, not a lead. But the faster you get on the phone with somebody, the more they appreciate it, and the higher the likelihood is that you earn their business and their trust, because there's a lot of competitors out there, man, with everything. So don't get it twisted. Like, it's not always the best product that wins, but it's the most known and the fastest to respond product that wins. But as a sales rep, I have something that's a little bit related, but I want to make sure I touch on this. I am looking for closers and sales reps all the time, and I'm looking for killers, right? I don't necessarily need assassins, but I would love to work with them because it's way funner. The way that you break into the sales space, and you're probably the guy to go to on this. I don't know if this is addressed in your curriculum or not, but if it is, great. And if it's not, then you should add this. Tell people how to make Loom videos better, because I get sent these Loom videos, man, that are just like, I would never show up anywhere like that. And so if you're looking for a sales job, just understand that your first impression is the single most important part of any relationship that you build. As soon as we see somebody, we make like 19 judgments about who they are, how they operate, and what they're like, even though we don't know them yet. So first impressions are everything, man. And that's where, as a business owner, if someone opts in, hey, what's going on, man? I saw you opted in. I saw you're struggling with X problem. How can we help? I'm right here for you. I'm waiting for you. I love solving this problem. As a sales rep, hey man, I saw your job board. I saw your job posting. I'm your guy. I will literally stab somebody for you. I'm the one, and here's why. I'd like an opportunity to over deliver. And I'll throw up my Loom video. We can share it with your community or something. But if you put that I landed my job at the Ghostwriting Academy and most of these Loom videos, it's just night and day, man. And I think that it's unfortunate because nobody's actually teaching people about how to do this, right? So you're plugging some of that gap with the education that you're putting out. And I'd love to help people do this better.
Yeah, especially if it's a completely cold application. That is a big thing that we focus on. Just imagine, man, you apply to a role that was desirable enough for you to take the time. So you could assume other people did the same, right? And if this recruiter, this manager, whoever, business owner has 20, 30, 50 Loom videos, all separate tabs, and they're just going to go through and watch them before they even press play, before you even open your mouth, they hear anything. Like, there's judgments being made, just like you said. And when you're 1 out of 50 on a cold application, it's so easy for them to just be like, X, go on to the next one. So it is super huge. That's why I say, in this remote space, it's not required to have fancy camera, fancy lighting, but if you have it, it's going to help you out for sure.
Yeah. And honestly, this brings me to one of the points I wanted to hit on too. Like, with all these like 50K a month closer, taglines and stuff, like 30K a month closer, $7 million closer, whatever, like whatever your experience level is, I want you to know something. If, and this is coming from someone who's made 20, 30, 40 grand in a month, pure commission. If you want to make 30 grand in a month, you're not going to be living some laptop lifestyle. Like, you might be able to go somewhere and bring your laptop, but you're going to be taking 14 calls in a day or 10 calls in a day, right? Like, a lot of people want this laptop lifestyle stuff and they want to make 30 grand a month. Do you know that if you're from the ages of, let's say 20, some people are even younger, let's just say 20 to 27. If you're that old in that age bracket and you're making 30 grand a month, you are basically an astronomical anomaly. Like, people don't understand that. Like, nobody makes 30 grand a month. And the people that are at the top, they're certainly not joking around sending these goofy ass Loom videos, and they're not on the beach like they say on Instagram. It's not accurate. So if you want to make money, you're going to have to work your face off and take a spoon and be ready to eat shit, because you're not going to get there without really earning it. And for those people who aren't scared of that and it doesn't scare them away, there's going to be more for you to eat, because like my buddy Johnny, I think he posted a tweet or something a few months back. He said something along the lines of, the bar is on the floor. And that is so true, man. Like, these guys I get on the phone with that want to work for me, they've got unrealistic expectations. And it's like, oh man, like, you don't even know what's going on. Like, you don't know how hard this actually is. So if you're trying to break into the space and you want to make a lot of money, you can get on the right offer and luck out, but you're still even with the best offer, you're still going to have to work hard day in and day out.
Yeah.
You're going to have to say the same thing 7 times a day for years. Even then, it's not guaranteed. Just wanted to give a reality check to anybody who wants to climb this ladder. It's definitely climbable, and I encourage you to do it because I've done it, and a bunch of people that I know have done it, and it will lead to unimaginable outcomes, which we can talk about next. But please understand how hard it is to climb this ladder. And it shouldn't be underestimated. It's good because not a lot of people are willing to do it. But also, if you're thinking that you're supposed to be making 20 grand a month without, with 4 hours a day, get real.
I think a lot of the expectations are coming because a lot of people trying to get into this space are young. There's definitely an older scene for certain people, but a lot of them are young and impressionable. And there's a lot of people who use that marketing angle of like, I'm 18 years old. I made 10K a month in high school. I drive a Corvette, live in Miami. Like, I'm on the balcony. Like,
it's all a facade.
Yeah. We were talking about this earlier, dude. Like, a lot of people in this space, not just the sales space, but in the online business space, man, they like way over leverage themselves as soon as they start making money in like watches, cars. This is nothing new to anybody, but like we were talking about it and super relevant in this space.
I got a lot of thoughts. Okay. Yeah. So, by the way, this cold brew is hitting. So forgive me if I'm going fast. Basically, if you're young, and yes, there's an older crowd, but let's just say we're talking to the mid-20s guys or the low 20s or the teens guys. I have 2 sides of this coin. Number 1, you are not behind. I felt chronically behind when I was like 23 years old. I'm like, I'm a fucking failure. I'm not making $300,000. I'm such a piece of shit. But then 2 years later, I started doing it. I was like, oh, it just took some time and it all worked out. If you're 17 years old or like 22 years old and you're not making 20 grand a month in Miami with a Rolex, you're not behind. That is a facade that you're seeing on Instagram that makes you feel like you should be there when in fact those people are living a lie. And if you're not worth 6 figures, you shouldn't have a Rolex. And a lot of people over leverage themselves. They do the whole Miami thing and they get an apartment that costs half of their income. That's just being stupid. And so I'm not a Dave Ramsey guy by any stretch of the imagination. And I do believe in putting yourself out of your comfort zone and then making that much because you have those bills. That's probably the belief that I align more with. But like these jokers, man, all this Instagram bullshit, it's fake news. It's fake news. It's not real. So don't get caught up in the mix, man. They've curated this idea of what they want you to see, but it's not reality. You don't see the failures and the tears and the struggle and all the things that go behind this. Long story short, don't get caught up in this Instagram bullshit, man. It's all fake news.
I mean, I like having nice things. Nice apartment, nice car, nice clothes. And it's cool when you can work for that, genuinely afford it, and that becomes your reality. But it's super fleeting, man. Like I've hit milestones and purchased things for myself, and a lot of us have. And it's just like, it's cool now. But the people that make their things, their personality, it's like you don't really see those people last too long,
Oh, yeah.
Well, I wanted to shift, just kind of being conscious of time. So we're talking about things that don't really matter, but I want to talk about things that do matter, things that are actually fulfilling. And I wanted to hit on a little bit of this concept that you were talking about earlier, which is like, you can go a lot further than you think. Tie this into like the running races, tie this into your life. Like, what does that mean to you?
Sure, man. So I'll give a bit of background on myself and just where I came from because of sales. And then I'll offer a message to the audience. So the idea that I have landed on and the reason that I believe I exist is what a philosophical statement. My purpose is something along the lines of I want to help people go further than they think that they can. And it took me a while to come up with that. And there's a lot to unpack. So for those of you who don't know me, which is probably like everyone, I come from really humble beginnings. And I'm going to say this not for anybody to feel sorry for me, but just the reality. My parents are on welfare. My mom was making like $1,000 a month. And that was all we had coming in. We got paid on the first and we were broke on the third. Every single month when I was young. I remember in school, there was this teacher that said something along the lines of 85% of people stay in the same socioeconomic class that they were born into. Basically means if you're born poor, you stay poor, statistically. And I heard that and just decided to wholeheartedly reject that statement. I was like, okay, that's awesome. Not me though. And so I decided at a really young age I was going to get rich. And my beliefs have changed and I still want to become super wealthy. But early on, I got it by any means. Like I started selling weed when I was like 13 years old. And it's because my parents couldn't pay for my haircut and they couldn't buy my school supplies. And it was up to me. So I took it into my own hands. Don't recommend that. Don't do any illegal activities. But I started sales when I was like 13 years old. Point that I'm trying to make though is I shouldn't be here sitting here with you on this podcast in Austin, Texas, flying to New York tomorrow, then coming back, going around the world. I've probably went to like 30 cities in the last 12 to 18 months, 7 countries. Like I shouldn't be here. And the reason that I am here is only because of sales. And I grew up really humble beginnings, decided to make a change and got into a performance-based vehicle that paid me based on my effort. And so long story short, you can go a lot further than you think, but you have to be willing to take action. And so it doesn't matter where you come from. The reason I'm trying to highlight all that is because without going into the whole details of it, which we can do at a later time, I went from basically nothing to something. And 24 months ago, let me do the math. Let's say 2.5 years ago, I was broke. I was $30,000 in debt. I was going to McDonald's and getting a latte and a cheeseburger with half quarters and half on a debit card. That actually happened, and I remember that. And I turned my whole life around, and now I'm approaching 6-figure net worth, and I'm making a ton of money, and I'm able to take care of everybody. I take care of my mom. I support her financially. Like, I take care of all my friends. I get the bill when we go out to dinner, and I don't say that from a place of ego or recognition, but I can do all that because of sales, and I'm willing to work my face off to be able to provide that way. And it only happened through sales. Like, if you're not where you want to be, get mad about it and then do something about it. And for me, that was getting into sales. And so I just rose to the top of the ladder, and I tried to just outwork, outlast, out-improve, and out-strategize everybody that I came across. And at the end of the day, if you can do those 4 things, then nobody can compete with you. And there's enough for everybody to win. And one thing in the sales space that I want to highlight is, like, you see these influencers that are doing really well, and you've had a bunch of them on your podcast, like Austin, Johnny, all these awesome guys. There's enough for everyone to win. And I'm a firm believer that in the sales space, I've started to notice how these people are, like, hating on each other and, like, comparing each other and stuff like that. Think about fitness influencers. There's a million fitness trainers. Some of them that are willing to work for it, they're all doing well. I believe the same about the sales space. Like, you can be someone huge in the sales space. I can. And we can all win together. There's enough for everybody to eat. Go further than you think. One more thing on this. It's not all about sales, though. So, like, you talk about what does that allow you and what does that bring you? I believe that you should also get into personal development outside of just getting better at objection handling. And what I mean by that is just pick a hobby, pick something that's really hard, and do it over a long period of time, because it'll mold you and it'll break all your belief systems and it'll form you into the person that you're meant to become. And so for me, that was running ultra marathons. So in 2022, I had a friend who lost 100 pounds in a year. His name is Logan, and he signed up for a marathon. And I was like, dude, that's so awesome. Like, how can I support you? And he's like, I don't know, you can come to the race. And I was like, what if I just signed up? And he was like, dude, you can't just sign up for a marathon 3 weeks at notice. And I was like, of course I can. And the reason I had that belief was because for the previous 2 years, I was doing all this personal development stuff, listening to Tony Robbins, Jordan Peterson, watching all the YouTube videos, but I didn't have a practical way to demonstrate what I was learning. Running actually became the vehicle that I was enabled to practice that personal development practically. And so ran a marathon in February of 2022. And then 2 months later, ran 100 miles. And then did like 5 100-mile races in that year, even ran 100 miles on Christmas. 2023, we signed up for the Moab 240. Unfortunately, fell short a little bit, and I didn't make my 20K in a month either. But then in 2024, I cracked my first 20K month and finished the Moab 240. And so the idea of you can go a lot further than you think, I want to offer that to the audience. Like, you can really, really go further than you think, but you'll probably overestimate what you can do in a year, underestimate what you can do in a few. So for all those people that are trying their hardest and they're really putting rubber to the pavement and they're not where they want to be, just hang tight and just keep going. Put one foot in front of the other, because the darkest time of the night is usually right before the sun rises.
It's super common. I assume the average listener of this is earlier in that journey where they're kind of like, maybe I'm not doing good, or maybe I'm doing good and I'm like hopeful for the future. But as soon as you can get to that point of earning is a big part of it, but just like confidence in your ability to be who you say you are and who you want to be. And you can shift your mindset from thinking, going off the concept of like underestimate what you can do in long term, but you overestimate the short term. Like, as soon as you shift that mindset from I want to make 20K this year, it's a good goal to have, to, within 5 years, like, I want to have this net worth, or I want to have like whatever. If once you can shift to that longer term perspective and then like show up day in, day out, pursue that, like, the game becomes a lot less stressful, even though day in, day out, it can be stressful, but it's a little bit more fun, a little bit more fulfilling. It's definitely easier said than done. And I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing with this podcast and the newsletter right now. And you get to a point like, dude, you make 20 grand, you make 30, 40 in a month, and you're like, yeah, cool, this is good. I'm going to keep trying to do this. But at a certain point, once you hit it a few times, you're just like, my life doesn't really change more if I make 40 versus 20,
it really, yeah. So one thing you said earlier that I wanted to touch on as well is like the people that chase the revenue goals or the profit goals, which is different than revenue. Don't listen to the revenue numbers. It's all a facade.
Yeah.
Profit's what matters. Whatever the goal that you have is, as far as like the metric goes, it's not going to last. And what I mean by that is, like, I hit 10 grand in a month and it actually made me depressed. I hit 20 grand in a month and that was a big one. When I hit 25, that actually was probably the richest that I ever felt, when I cracked 25 grand in a month, because I fucking earned it. Like, I really put everything into it. And so I was really actually more satisfied with the effort that I put in, not the actual reward itself. And so it's not about the finish line. And if you're playing for the finish line, you're going to lose. And like you said, like I would encourage everyone to fall in love with the game. And this is like a straight Hormozyism, like extend the time horizon, like just zoom out and play on a longer timeline, and that's how you win. And we're all going to die anyways. So like just if you're in this space, just try to sell yourself on becoming better at the game. And for you, like with the newsletter and the podcast and everything, you're going to crush. You're going to do really well, and it's going to go so far. But it's because you're worrying about the day-to-day activities. And Jordan Peterson has this line where it's something like, you take care of the daily activities and you don't have to worry about the future. Just take care of what needs to happen today, and the future takes care of itself. We have to keep reminding ourselves to be patient, but be aggressively patient. And what I mean by that is like still operate with a sense of urgency, but give yourself some grace on the timeline. And it's probably going to take you twice as long as you think.
I'm speaking from experience. The goalposts always move. They always move. They always will move. Like the dude who just bought his first private jet yesterday, his first yacht. I don't know much about yachts, but like the guy who's been waiting for that moment for 10, 20 years, who just bought that huge thing. They bought a helicopter. Within a month, they're going to be like, what's next? Within probably 2 weeks, they're going to be like, what's next? So I think, I found a lot of comfort and fulfillment out of, again, not pursuing the material things. Like it's good to have nice things. It makes you feel good. Like quality is worth paying for. I'm a believer in that. But like, I'm more interested in like one of my goals being like showing up every day and laying the foundation for the person I want to be, whether that's like health wise, fitness, business, relationships. And that pursuit is just so much more everlasting, one. And I don't know, like, especially when it's tied to your, like, I guess your personality, it's like, dude, you're never gonna get to the point of like the goalpost moving because you're always building yourself bigger, better. It's a lot more fulfilling.
Yeah, I would say that with someone who is looking at the totem pole, like finances are usually the easiest to simplify because it's very metrics driven and it's data driven, but I want to be able to make $100,000 in a month. And in order for me to do that, there's a certain type of threshold that I have to hit in terms of the person that I am becoming. And I'm actually more obsessed with becoming the person that is able to make $100,000 a month than the fact of hitting $100,000 in a month. And so fall in love with becoming the person that's able to achieve those things, not the actual things themselves. Like, it, man. And sometimes I think you just have to go through this yourself and you have to learn it by doing it. It's like the person who buys a Lamborghini, like, oh yeah, this is fucking lame. Now, I will say that's not for everybody. Some people love their sports cars. And by the way, more power to you, right? Like if you can use it as an actual milestone or a way to document the journey and that's what you want to have as a reflection of that, that's awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. But just my advice to everybody is just fall in love with the game so you can keep playing because it really is an infinite game.
Yeah, definitely. I want to ask you one last question or maybe two more, but people watching this can probably infer what your response is going to be. But I always like to ask towards the end of these, like the name of the podcast, newsletter, and brand is because of sales. Our whole thing is showing people how the life that they want, finances included, but also in other components, the life that they want is just on the other side of a good sales opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
What can you attribute in your life because of sales?
It's actually kind of a question that makes me get a little bit emotional. I'll try to say it long story short, like I should not be here. And what I mean by that is like I was basically statistically set up to fail, to die or to go to jail. And unfortunately, a lot of the people that I grew up with are dead and in jail, are dead or are in jail. And I made it out, man, by the grace of God. And it's really because of God. So God gave me sales, though. And so, like, I cannot believe how far I've come in a couple of years. And I'm not very good at, like, giving myself a pat on the back, but I'll do it right now. I earned this seat. And I still have a long way to go. But, like, I owe everything to sales. I broke into the industry and went from making 30K in my first year to 80 and then 240. So I literally doubled and then tripled my income across the last 3 years. Now I'm on pace to do well over that. Aside from the numbers and the metrics, I take care of my mom's bills. She doesn't have to work. I take care of all my friends. That's what I'm really passionate about, is just hooking all my boys up and just looking out for the gang. I've been able to go around the world, basically don't think about when I buy a flight. And money is just a tool that enables you to make change. And also, making money just makes you more of who you are. And so for the people that want to get into sales, like, just so you know, you can literally change the world for yourself and for others. And I'll end it on this note. And if you want to reach out to me, I'm happy to help. And I'll be someone that you can rely on in the industry. And I really want to rise the whole tide. I think we can all win together and we should all collaborate. But because because of sales, man, I am completely just light years ahead of where I was supposed to be. And if you want to get into a vehicle that is performance-based, where you can double your effort and double your income and so on and so forth, then this is the most practical way to do it. And it's like the beginning of entrepreneurship because you have less risk and you're able to build all the same skills of an entrepreneur, but someone else is handling the marketing and the fulfillment for you. And so it's funny because a lot of the people in the industry, there's some break into sales people. You're one of the good guys, but there's some people that sell it as like, make 20 grand in a month and, do it overnight. That's bullshit, just so you know, or else it's really rare. But what I will say is that's the advice that I give to everybody is just get into sales, dude. Yeah. I just helped 2 of my buddies get into appointment setting and a couple of my buddies get into closing, and they're about to change their entire life. So
yeah, if you have something that's like driving you to be a different or better version of yourself, sales is a really, really good vehicle. I mean, it's the ultimate, I guess, playing field for those who weren't supposed to make it out. Like, you don't need a college degree to make 200, 300 a year in sales. You need to grind, and like whoever wants it the most will get it if you get in and get going. So I'm going to link it below, but where do you want people to reach out to you?
Sure. My Instagram is _Tristan Workman. I'm going to start ripping content. And for those in the audience that want to see more from me, let Dylan know if you enjoyed this podcast, because I'd love to come back on and keep spilling sauce, because we definitely need more than an hour. You can find me on Instagram. I'll have Dylan link it below, but please reach out to me. I don't do handouts, but I can give you a hand up. So yeah, find me there, and I'd love to collaborate with anybody and everybody. And if you're an offer owner that needs help scaling, hit me up. If you're a sales rep that needs an offer, I've got one. I'm happy to help, and I really want to see everybody win. And I think that I am going to do my best to contribute to the overall success of everyone inside of this industry. So if you don't know me now, well, you know me now after watching this podcast, but I'm coming. Yeah. Best believe.
He said it earlier, you guys. He's always hiring setters and closers. So if you have a good Loom video,
make a good one and make it personalized. Don't send me no month-old Loom.
Yeah, with 30 views.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. All right, you guys, thank you for watching. Go hit up Tristan if you're looking for help or you just want to follow his journey, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Thanks, Dylan. See you guys.
All right, guys, that's the pod with Tristan. Sorry I held it away from you guys for so long. Literally just got so busy booking and recording other podcasts, and I'm not going to say I forgot about it, but misplaced it, okay? So that was a really fun episode. Tristan's now a guy who's local here in Austin, and we'll definitely be spitting out some more content here soon. But all of Tristan's links are going to be down below. If you're interested in following him, reaching out to him, whatever, super friendly guy, go do it. And before we wrap this episode up, you guys, please also, while you're down there, subscribe. First link in the description. Subscribe to our newsletter. It is free. Will always be free. We want to give you a pulse on the state of selling so that you can know what's happening every single week. The best of social media, the best of these social posts and articles and all that pulled into one central location just for you by salespeople for salespeople, not some 8-figure, 9-figure company that's trying to be likable. It's by people that are in the trenches selling things right now alongside you. So thank you guys for watching this episode. Go connect with Tristan, go subscribe to our newsletter, and we'll see you next week.